Hey everyone, welcome to a guide on learning the basics of Smite 2 Conquest. In this video, we'll cover all of the key features such as objectives, starts, buffs, you name it. Since Smite 2 is fairly new, I'm sure you have a lot of questions going into it, especially if you're looking to compete, get better, and climb in rank Conquest. Hopefully I can answer a majority of those questions in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. To get started, let's go over the buffs. There are 4 different kinds of buffs in Conquest. These range from the Pathfinder buff, which gives you 10% movement speed as well as some sustain after killing jungle monsters. This is the new speed buff equivalent for junglers. The Caustic buff, which allows your attacks to apply poison damage as a percentage of max HP over time to enemy players. This is the red buff equivalent for mid laners. The Inspiration buff, which gives you stacking strength and intelligence upon hitting abilities or auto attacks. This is the purple buff equivalent for ADCs. And lastly, the Primal buff, which gives mana regen. Of course, this is the blue buff equivalent for soul laners. Now, these buffs evolve in rank after gaining a certain amount of infamy, meaning as you kill them, you'll see the number go up, which can grant additional scaling and effects. Infamy gets accumulated through you and your team killing buffs, which you can see as a meter above the camp. Feel free to pause the video here. These are all the additional effects highlighted in green for each variation of the buff, scaling up to 4 different variations. One thing to also keep note of are the neutral camps. To my knowledge, these are actually random spawns, at least initially, meaning a different buff variation will spawn, and as you kill them, a different one will appear in its place. These evolve too, being treated as extra spawns of these buffs around the map. The last sort of buff I want to go over are the trinkets. I don't really treat these as a main buff, which is why I didn't add them above, but trinkets can be acquired by killing either your back camps or the enemies. Once defeated, they drop a shield that you can pick up, and yes, these shields do stack up to 900 HP. The initial shield health scales as these back camps level up, just like the buffs. Next, let's cover the objectives. There are 3 jungle boss objectives around the map, in the Warhorn and Soul Lane. The jungle boss objectives include the Gold Fury, the Fire Giant, and the new addition, the Naga Queen. The Naga Queen is a roaming objective that can be denoted as a star symbol moving around the map. This thing is pretty tanky, so I advise you to get some help with it, at least until mid or late game. But once you kill it, it will give global golden XP to your team, and it will also drop a buff that allows you to spawn 2 Naga minions that can be used to tank and do damage to jungle boss objectives like the Gold Fury or Fire Giant. It can also be used to damage and tank enemy structures. The Gold Fury is pretty much the same objective as in Smite 1, except with one big difference. Instead of different variations, there's just one Gold Fury. However, killing the Gold Fury now creates a permanent stacking buff. The first kill grants a buff that doubles your team's movement speed out of base. Holy I'm super duper fast. The second kill enables your minions to become tankier and do more damage if you're standing next to them, which can be seen as an arrow on the minions. Think of this buff as the Oni Fury buff from Smite 1. The third kill and final stack gives your team 25% more damage to structures, and if you're standing near a structure, you become tankier, gaining 50 additional protections. You can see how many stacks you or the enemy team has at the top under your team's kills. Also, once the Gold Fury has been defeated 3 times, a different type of Gold Fury will spawn, called the Ancient Fury. This one acts the same as the base Gold Fury with the addition of disabling enemy structures for 120 seconds upon defeating it. The Fire Giant is pretty much the same as in Smite 1, giving you additional power and sustain through regen. But this also has a stacking buff too. When you kill the FG each additional time, you'll get more power and protections. These stacks finalize at 4. We also have this small gold hook near mid lane. Walk up to it and interact with it to give you and your teammates 30 gold each. It respawns every 2 minutes. Finally, for objectives, we have the Warhorn. This side objective in Soul Lane grants your team's next wave champion minions. These minions take reduced damage and deal more damage. To get the Warhorn, simply stand in it and interact with it. Then after about 40 seconds or so, which you can see as a progress bar on the Warhorn, it will spawn the champion minions. You also give your team 25 gold each for capturing the Warhorn. Lastly, for the map itself, we have a few additional smaller features. The first is the grass. It's pretty much Mardi Gras from Smite 1, but perma-built into various areas of the map. When you step into the grass, you are invisible to the enemy unless you perform some attacking action in it, or they step in it themselves. Next, we have the teleporters. There are 4 of them which exist on the outer jungle of both side lanes, which are used to get across the map quicker. When you walk up to them, interact with them to teleport to the receiving one across the map. After taking it, you get a temporary speed boost and you have a 30-second cooldown before you can use it again. We also have a new effect with towers. They have armor plates on them, and as you destroy these plates, which can be seen as smaller segments of the tower's HP bar, you can pick up additional gold orbs that drop out of them. These orbs are on a timer before they despawn, so don't forget to pick them up. Lastly, I want to go over starts. But just so you know, the alpha's only been out for not even a week yet, and players are still experimenting with different ones, so these are bound to change at some point in the future. But this should be a good starting point for you. These are the starts I've done either myself or I've seen other players do in my games consistently. So to start us off, let's go over my main role, support. In support, you most likely want to invade their dual side buffs level 1. This means grabbing your trusty Sunder Relic, which means you can outsecure anyone, and from here you can really pick where you want to invade. I enjoy invading yellow the most, but sometimes I'll invade purple instead. Now, while you're doing this, you can either continue to annoy their jungler and run out their buffs, or you can meet your ADC back in lane. Now, say your ADC. While your support is doing this, you should either start purple or the wave. Starting the wave I think is the best because you don't lose any minions, but there's a chance they invade you. And from here it might be best start purple to either deter the invade from happening or get a potential kill if others come over to help you. If you're support and can't invade because they're 3-man running at you, then you and your ADC can just start your purple instead, then go to lane. Jungle's kinda up in the air for where to start. You can do a lot of different things, but the two main starts I've seen are either starting your yellow or red, then clearing your back camps and going to your other back camps and doing the opposite buff. I think starting yellow is better because it's more likely to get invaded than your red is, and if you start yellow you can actually contest the invade if you have allies to come help you out. So that's what I would prefer for jungle. Mid lane pretty much has two different ways to start. Either start at your red buff, then go to wave, or you can start at the wave and go to red buff. Starting wave will let you get all of the minions. Starting red buff will help ensure you get the buff earlier, which will put it on a faster respawn, but you may lose around 1 to 3 minions to the tower if the enemy mid laner starts wave and pushes it up. Some of this can also depend on how fast your clear is on your character. But I think out of these two starts, the best is probably to start wave, just because you can also choose where to go. For example, help gank the support that's invading your speed buff. Soul lane can either start blue buff or wave, but starting the buff is preferred so you don't get invaded. Then you just go to wave. So pretty much to sum it up, both side lanes starting wave is more efficient, but starting buff is more protective and seems to be more preferred from players. Jungle, you should start your yellow side, either your back camps or your yellow buff. Mid lane, you should start in lane, and support you should be looking to invade unless the whole server chases you. This is going to be the beginner's guide to Smite 2 Conquest. I was going to add building in this video, but I think it's a bit more complex in Smite 2, and I'd rather make an entire video about it. So I hope this helped you out and cleared up any confusion you had in Smite 2's Conquest. It actually is a really neat map with a lot of really neat features here and there, like the buff Infamy system. I hope they keep adding systems like these in the future. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you have anything you'd like to add that you found out, such as extra starts or hidden features in the map, please feel free to add them in the comments so we can all learn from them. But until the next video, see ya.